welcome to yet another, this will be, I don't know, the 25th, 26th one of our, videos. Last time you saw me, I was bitching about my blonde hair. So this is the purple
people a lot better.
Usually look for. But anyway, I'll get to that part. My name's Warren. I have coming up really close on 2,100 reviews in Vivino.
My name is Will. I'm a certified sommelier through the Court of Master Sommeliers, and together we are
Warren and Will's Wild Wine Reviews. Now, we've got Cantina Interrosia Marsala Superiore Reserva Ambra Semisecco 1980 today. That sounds really, really old, but this puppy spent 30 years at least in oak.
And you said this is a sherry style of wine, or sherry
that is my understanding. Let me turn over our... So, as always, we start with the Vivino info, and I'll give you a little information about the vineyard, and then we're going to go right to drinking. I had a hard time with this vineyard because their website was in Italian. I finally got Google to translate the front page for me. It wouldn't do much else. But at any rate, as I said, it's Cantina Interrosia Marsala Superiore Reserva Ambra Semisecco 1980, and I probably butchered that because I don't even have 5 words in Italian. I got a couple of Latin from my 4 semesters of Latin in college, but not for what I paid for it. Sure as hell did. Completely worthless, by the way, if you happen to be an English major, because the whole reason people take that course is to get better vocabulary.
Right.
Well, it doesn't help if you already know all the words.
That's true. And on the other hand, it's interesting etymologically, so I don't know.
So going with the Vivino stats, which is how we start most reviews, this one gets 4.4 ratings from 59 reviews in Vivino. Now, depending on where you come from, and I had some hard time finding the actual number of reviews and the ratings because they continually wanted to show me just all of their wines across all the years and all the varietals. Right. And then it was only like 3.6, which wasn't very high.
Right.
But this particular one, when I could finally found a way to get to it on Vivino, on the website, because it wouldn't do it on my phone or vice versa, I don't remember. But at any rate, that's when I found that this particular one's rated a lot higher than many of their others. And they say the average price on Vivino is for $28.67. Interesting average. Yeah. But they don't have anyone selling it there right now. And all I could find it for sale, definitely. Because even though it's 30 years old, even though it is what? God, that makes it 42 years old? Yeah. It was bottled only 12 years ago. Right, and in that case, or maybe less, because they say at least 30. And so I don't know how long they age it in the bottle. They didn't tell me before they release it. That info was, I could not find it. But at any rate, the places that I found it all had it for $40 to $50. Yeah. Now it's 19% ABV, so this is a big one. It's fortified. It'll kick your butt. Yep. Be careful. The grapes that the Cantina Interrosia specializes in is Grillo,
Catarratto Bianco,
and Inzolia.
Okay. Grillo I'm familiar with, but the other two I'm not. I assume that they're mainly used in Marsala production and not in varietal bottlings.
The Interrosia winery was established in 1930 by the Interrosia family, who still manages the business. Okay. I don't know if that means they still own it, because generally I would say still owns and manages it. If they still owned and manage it. No idea. There wasn't really any way for me to clarify that, and I couldn't see calling somebody, and I don't even know how many time zones ahead of me they are. And they could speak English if I got them. So that's what we got there. Looks like they have 62.2 acres. The wine is, as I said, aged for over 30 years in oak cask barrels. This wine is made from the Grillo grapes. Okay. So says their website. Interesting.
Okay, yeah, no, those other two interest me because Marsala is actually one aspect of Italian winemaking that I know very little about, so this is going to be very interesting for me.
They also recommend that you eat this with something real spicy cheese. So I brought ghost pepper cheese because, I'm not doing anything halfway. But first what we're going to do is give you our initial reaction to the wine. Without it, then Will and I are each going to take a bite of this ghost pepper. You're going to watch funny looks on our face, and then we're going to go on to drinking some more of the wine. Oh, look at that color.
Ooh, wow.
It looks like
cloudy,
thick maple syrup pouring into your glass. Oh, they can't actually see it here. Let me let you see it as it pours in, and then I will move it back away from Will's face.
Wow.
So yeah, it's got a really deep brown color.
So this smells to me very.
That smells like a port.
It does smell like a port. It smells like a very sort of classic tawny port.
Yeah, very much so.
Caramel and fig. Date, definitely
a little
like
bit of chocolate.
A lot of dried fruit character.
I'd expect more oak. I mean, I get the Bear's taste, but I would have expected a lot more from 30 years. But it didn't say it was new oak. But
what you're getting at this point, I mean, you think about it when it spends that long in the barrel and it's this heavily oxidized. What you're really getting is the oxidative aromas and flavors.
That is not as sweet as some ports that I've had.
No, it's not.
It's got a nice mouthfeel.
And it actually, the bottle does say Semisecco, which means semi-dry.
Yeah.
I don't know what Marsala's standards are for sugar levels. This is, I mean, it's definitely perceptibly sweet, but I would assume that Marsala runs all the way into like super sugar.
Like you can read their little description on the back.
It says it's traditionally served as an aperitif between the first and second courses of a meal. Oh, interesting. So now that's desserts. Contemporary diners will serve with hard and spicy cheeses such as Parmesan, Gorgonzola, Roquefort, and with fruits or pastries. Serve at room temperature or slightly chilled. Huh, that's interesting. So they don't consider this a dessert wine,
which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean the thing is,
it's not the sweetest. It's not.
Not at all.
It's not as sweet as dessert wine. Most of the ones that my wife would like.
Well, that's the thing is that that Americans generally think of sweeter wines as dessert wines, but they occupy a range of roles in European traditions, and I'm sure that as I said, it's
getting apricot too now.
Yeah, I could see that, like the dried apricot. Yeah.
Oh yeah, not fresh, very much a dried apricot. Figs, fig Newton-y.
Tons of fig.
More like a fig Newton than a fig.
I was actually thinking of figs because my mom we had a fig tree and she would serve figs at Thanksgiving dinner. And just smelling it, I was like, oh, and we just had Thanksgiving, so I was like, that's an interesting aroma to be smelling right now, a very nostalgic kind of thing. Never had figgy pudding, but this is kind of how I imagine it smelling.
So, shall we try the...
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's do it.
So this is ghost pepper. We'll need to wash our hands when we get done.
Oh, yeah, right.
Cheese.
Yeah,
it's some hot stuff. Now, I know what to expect. I've had this before. Will is not. Right now, it's just starting to kick. At first bites, there's nothing. And then, whoa!
Yep, definitely.
Which is where we are.
Covering the entire inside.
Oh, yeah.
It's more of a vapor than a heat. It's like a cloud.
Oh, yeah, I could still feel it pouring out of my mouth. So let's see what this does to it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I totally see why they recommend it. Probably
cools
you should go a couple steps down on the cheese from here.
Right. Well, that's the thing. What Europeans probably consider to be spicy cheeses is, something with a little bit of sharpness to it.
Jack,
exactly.
Whereas what I've got is a over-the-top designed to knock your socks off.
Actually, you know what? What I like about that, and I think this is the thing with ghost peppers, it's hot. It's definitely intense, but it never overstays its welcome. It like comes in, does a big thing. But it's not like 5 minutes later, I'm like, okay, can this please stop?
I don't know, man. It goes a little bit.
No, I mean, it's there.
It's going on.
It's there, but I don't feel like it's. I'm not in pain. It's not unpleasant. The distillery in Floyd did a drink with ghost pepper extract in it.
Oh wow!
And it's really neat because with a cocktail with all the sweetness and the coldness, you kind of had this oscillatory effect where you'd be like, okay, heat. Now cold. Heat, now cold. It was a really... Gabrielle built it, so obviously it was well put together. But I think that might be a sort of thing of ghost peppers, just like, wow, this is really intense. And then like, okay, like it's fading into like a manageable kind of
It does make the wine feel sweeter.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and also the wine's a welcome relief on your palate to like take care of it.
And it does cool it down until you swallow it, and then it's right back.
But it comes back, and then it's nice because it's like, ooh.
And it's a little less than it was each sip.
Yep.
So.
No, that's a really nice pairing.
Yeah. And it's the first time we've done any food.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I'm like, oh, spicy pepper. And I just happened to have this ghost pepper that I purchased because one of my friends who runs, actually it was Michael's daughter.
Oh, okay.
Mentioned it, and she put it up on the website.
Sweet.
Like, where'd you get that? And believe it or not, they had it at Slaughter's Market.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's our little town that's pretty much...
I'm going to get some.
Pretty much aims at the working class southerner, not upscale markets. And this is much more of an upscale market.
Their meat selection is pretty good.
Yeah, and very inexpensive.
Yeah.
Compared to what you get everywhere else. It's just like, how do they sell the meat so cheap?
I'm going to have the other piece.
Oh, wow, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
My.
Yeah, I like it. Mason Poff was telling me that ghost peppers were apparently...
Mason, good guy.
I do too. He knows a lot of stuff, and I didn't know... Well, he knows a lot about hot peppers, especially because they're his thing. He told me that ghost peppers became cultivated when humans noticed that elephants would eat them and then, like, run away. And they used them to keep elephants out of their temples because they couldn't hurt them.
Okay.
So they're like, well, if we can't hurt them, we know they don't like eating these. Let's plant them around the temples, and then they won't go anywhere. Elephants knew to stay away from them. And then, just as a byproduct, they're like, well, we also have all these ghost peppers, and being humans, and we like hot things.
We ate them.
We started eating them, yeah.
No, it's funny, because I once was presented, I'm a birder, and I love birds, and I put out a lot of bird seed, and we're having some issues with some squirrels. So I was looking at these cayenne-coated seeds, because birds don't have the receptors to
oh, really? I didn't know that,
They don't. But being mammals, and...
Yeah.
Specifically rodents, the squirrels do.
Yep.
But then I did a little research, because I research everything before I went and bought them, because they were a lot more expensive. And it turns out that they're much like us. There are some squirrels that be like,
really like
hell no, I'm not going near that. And then there'll be other squirrels be like, oh, I'm going over the dude who's got the good stuff. And they want your cayenne-coated.
Right.
You know, it freaks them out the first time, but they come back.
That's interesting.
And then they like it.
I thought that was specifically a human thing, so it's a mammalian thing to enjoy hot stuff, huh?
Well, I don't know about enjoy it, but certainly to be able to sense it.
Right.
That birds can't.
Well, but I wonder if that's true of all mammals. That there are some mammals
I don't actually know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a biologist.
Humans are odd in that regard. The capsaicin and pretty much anything that's spicy is designed by plant systems to be a deterrent towards anything eating it.
But one of the reasons that humans have developed that taste for it is that, especially in hot places where food spoils, you cook it in this, and it kills all the bacteria, just wipes it out. Which is why you will never get sick eating Indian food. They have too much spice in it. Same with Mexican. You know, there was that episode. Excuse me. Wow, that pepper thing's getting me. There was that episode of the Sopranos where they all got food poisoning. They had lunch at an Indian restaurant and dinner at an Italian restaurant. They were positive it was the Indians' restaurant. And the doctor was like, they were mad at the doctor because he was explaining to him, no, you did not get this at the Indian restaurant.
You didn't.
It was definitely the Italian restaurant.
The only thing you'll get at an Indian restaurant is heartburn.
Yeah, I don't get that from Indian food. Love it.
Right. I adore
also
Indian
love
food.
Italian food, so I am not ragging on Italian food.
No. Indian food will not make you sick. Yeah, no, it's funny because in that sense, capsaicin and hot stuff serves the same purposes as boiling or fermenting, or distilling. Or salting. It's a form of food preservation, one way or the other. And like you noted, in hot climates, you know,
the foods are spicy in every hot climate, and that's why.
But there's so much more microbial growth. I mean, it's a petri dish. You know, the temperatures and the wet conditions.
Food sucks because they never had to worry about it. It was always freaking cold. Same with Irish food. You know, I love Ireland. It is my favorite place in the world. Their food blows. It just blows.
I will say I did have a really nice breakfast in Galway. I feel like I
had some wonderful meals in Ireland.
Yeah,
but they weren't Irish. It wasn't bangers and mash.
No,
I mean, okay, I've had some of the best fish and chips in my life, but it's still just freaking fish and chips.
Right,
you know, it's not.
It's not some kind of regional specialty that you can only.
Though they do have more duck, but that's European. That's not really Irish. And it comes from outside of Ireland, which they're now. The Northern Ireland's having a real hard time getting duck because of the issues with Brexit.
Yeah. Yet another casualty in the whole Brexit thing. You know, when I was there in 2016, it was really interesting, and I assume it's still the same. The Brexit thing, it actually may prove to be the reunification
of
Ireland. Because Northern Ireland is the poorest part of the UK. It's the most economically depressed. And them being part of the European Union was very, very good for them. And now that they're out of it, rejoining with Ireland might be their ticket back into it. It's a non-religious, non-partisan. Both Protestants and Catholics benefit from it. There's no political angle to it other than the economic.
And the importance of the religion in most modern-day people is way less than it used to be.
Absolutely.
There are fewer people who identify or go to Christian churches every single year. So I can see... They have to make some political adjustments, but they're now doable in a way that they didn't used to be, when part of it was you have to stop being Catholic. You have to stop being Protestant. That's all going away.
Well, not only that, it's like you think about the Good Friday Peace Accords that happened in 1998. So we've had almost a full generation of kids who are now young adults.
And who don't have any issue with the other side.
Right. Well,
who've been going over the border their whole lives.
Who grew up without any bombings or killings or any of the factionalism.
It was easier to go from Ireland to Northern Ireland and vice versa than it was for me to go to Canada.
Yeah.
I mean, in Canada, I'm an American, so like, do you have a gun?
Yeah.
No,
nope.
Sir. Okay.
Okay, come on
Whereas
in.
It was a little more difficult coming back. How much wine do you have? I'm like, 2 bottles. You mean cases, right? And I'm like, no, I mean bottles. Because you don't pay taxes, you get up to 2 cases, I guess, is what you can have.
Right.
I'm like, dude, they didn't have 2 cases of wine in Canada that I wanted to bring home.
I found 2 ice wines, and that was it.
Yeah, right. We had the 2 ice wines for my wife. There was nothing there
not even
that I couldn't buy in America. So why buy it there?
Yeah, okay,
you know?
True.
There was nothing there.
I was going to say, a Canadian ice wine has got to be at least partially up your alley. No, not really.
Partially. I mean, I can drink one every now and then with my wife.
I guess the thing is,
I wouldn't pick it up to
they're
just
using
drink
Vidal Blanc, so it's not going to be as complex as what you're looking for.
Although I had a really nice Vidal Blanc the other night with my wife.
Sure. I mean, Vidal is one of those grapes that can be done in a really boring fashion. Every so often you find one that just really blows your socks off, makes you wonder what they're doing.
It was done by the Germans in the chocolate Beereslesen
there you go.
So it was perfect for her. She loved it.
There you go.
And I was like, it tasted more like Riesling than like Sauvignon Blanc. But
yeah, no, it's funny. One of the funny things about Vidal is that if you have like a dry Vidal Blanc, a varietal, table Vidal Blanc, it tastes nothing like Riesling. It's not very floral. I mean, they can be a little bit, but it's nothing like Riesling. But something happens when you turn it into an ice wine. Vidal, Riesling, Traminette, Gewürztraminer all have this very floral character, but it only happens to Vidal when you do it in that style.
And I like it in that style. So, it's nice to have another white that I can drink.
Yeah.
It was quite sweet. Not overpowering. Not as overpowering as Beereslesen usually is.
And it can handle
But that made it better for me, and my wife was still fine with it.
Of course.
Cool. Whew, my mouth is still rocking, man.
I love it. No, it feels like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like the hot equivalent. When I jumped into a cold spring.
Do this more often.
Yeah, this is fun. I jumped into a cold spring in Florida. When I got out, my skin was tingling, but it was cold, and this is like the hot equivalent of that. It's like my mouth is tingling, but I feel more alive.
My tongue, the roof of my mouth. Underneath my tongue's fine. It's top of the tongue, roof of the mouth, side
and
of
the
mouth,
sides. The sides.
Oh,
really?
Fine on mine, yeah.
That's where I first felt it. That's where it lit on fire. Yeah, this is nice. This is, I initially asked you if it was going to be like sherry, and you said I hope not, because you're not a huge fan of sherry. This is more like a tawny port. I would say, honestly, if you snuck this into a tawny port tasting,
people would think it was tawny port.
They probably would. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that might tip some people off, and I wouldn't even know that this was a Marsala thing, is the cloudiness. This is
in this case,
cloudy.
Americans are used to Marsala meaning mixture, blend. This is the Marsala is the region it's from.
Right.
So it has nothing to do with mixes. I mean, this is a single berry.
Right.
So I know you're used to Marsala chicken.
Right.
And that is not where this word.
And it's interesting because they don't.
What this word means in this context.
They don't put They don't put the varietal on the label, which is interesting.
No, I found that on their website.
I bet you anything, if they made it now, they'd probably put the varietal somewhere on there. Because if it was a 1980 vintage, on the other hand, it was released in.
Well, they won a bunch of gold medals in 2014, so suddenly everybody knows who they are, and they were bragging about that. And I'm like, well, that's cool, but I got your 1980.
the wine market.
Now I don't know what ones they won it. They didn't say which. So if they keep it for 30 years in oak, then the 2014 couldn't possibly be out.
Right.
So they won the awards in 2014, but on their website they didn't say which wines did it, or if they did, I missed it. And I'm sorry.
I think my gut is telling me, and I could be wrong, maybe Italians care less about this kind of thing than other European wine markets. I feel like if they were releasing this now instead of in whenever it was in 2010, that they would probably put Grillo somewhere on the label, just because Americans respond really positively. For whatever reason, we really like knowing, especially if it's a single varietal. We're interested in blends too. Yeah, what's in it? Even if we've never heard of it. That's the thing that I really like about American wine consumers.
But then we can go find out about the grape. And we learn stuff. We discover what grapes we like that we never heard of before.
And it's not just me being a wine geek. I've noticed this about people who aren't even all that into wine. They will, like when I was working at Wine Lab, we'd have customers come in and go, "Oh, I've never heard of this grape. Tell me about it." you know, it wasn't, they were interested in hearing about something they'd never heard of before. And there's, I don't know how many hundreds of varietals. You will never run out of varietals. Trust me. Go to Poland, go to Ukraine, go to Eastern Europe. You'll hear grapes you've never heard of before and won't hear of outside of those areas.
So, because we haven't mentioned this, we are currently at Will's house.
Yes.
My house has too many windows. I literally don't have a wall this wide without a window on it that we could set up and do it, or we would. Now, we've been doing it at the Parkway, and thank you very much, guys. Problem is that they have music on that was a little louder than we wanted, and there's also some copyright issues with the music they were playing that YouTube may shut us down at some point if they go, hey, what's this? Now, because what they play is Muzak versions of popular music, so those folks are really big on their copyright.
Yep, they are.
You'll know the stuff at the front and the back of this video is The Butterfly. Now, that's a song, it's an Irish drinking song, I think, but it's an Irish song at any rate that's been in the public domain for a very long time, but you can still get a copyright on it because you have to arrange it. It just, it's just basic chords. Well, the person who played it has the copyright on it because she arranged her left hand because they just give chords. And so what you're hearing is her feeling of what should go with it, and that's my daughter. So she also does the editing of this. So we've got that beautiful music, and we don't have to worry about anyone challenging the copyright because we own that, or at least my daughter does.
Yeah.
But with the stuff that was playing at the Parkway, then there could be some copyright issues, and
I was so blown away when you told me that. But I mean, it makes sense because it's like in the Matrix when those tentacle robots come to find the Nebuchadnezzar. That's what YouTube has for finding copyright.
People get mad at YouTube, but YouTube's doing it because people have sued them.
Oh, I know, I understand. I understand why they have to do it. And
as somebody who makes his living with
copyright,
what can I say? Somebody's stealing my stuff. I go after them. Although not as fast as most people. I once had a story. So I sold this story. I'd written a story, sold it. Years go by and someone's like, I love that story. I wanted it in my vampire anthology. It was a vampire story. My computers had crashed. I didn't have it.
Yeah.
So I looked for it. I just searched on it online. And I found it. Some dude had put it on his website and he said, published with permission. I never gave that guy permission. I don't know who the hell he was.
Right.
I did not give him permission. But you know what? He had it word for word with no typos. I downloaded it, sold it for $250, emailed him saying I didn't remember giving him permission, but thanked him very much, and here's permission. And I let him keep it up. Because without him, I had to retype the thing, and it wasn't, $250 is not worth the time for me to retype that, so I just wasn't gonna. I'd be like, I'd love to be in the Antho, sorry.
That's really funny.
Yeah, so in this case...
had you cleaned it up?
No. It had been on. We had it on a website. Oh, it had been on a website
I see.
Where it was clean, and he had taken it from there.
Gotcha. Okay.
And he had said, he did give me the byline. He pretended he had permission because, he said, "Oh, you just don't remember." That'll kind of might hold up in court. I thought I had permission. Well, that makes you a innocent infringer,
right?
And then you only have to give me 3 times what you made. And since he wasn't asking anybody for any money, he hadn't made anything, so he had no risk, no real risk, unless I was a complete jerk, And I really refused to accept that, and that can be done. It once cost me $50,000 with somebody who was a complete jerk who had no rights to be suing me and did, and it was just cheaper to pay him than to keep paying my lawyer so we could go to court and I could win.
Well, I don't know how you feel about it, but if he's not making any money, I feel like it's kind of a jerky thing to do, but if he's not making any money, it's where's
he clearly loved vampires, which I was flattered. He loved my story, as did the person who asked me for it. So it was cool. I got it back. I have the story now. I'll never lose it again because I keep stuff in different places.
He unintentionally preserved it.
Right. So my view on pirates is it's not cool.
Right.
But sometimes it works in your favor.
Right.
I once had a discussion with Paul Stanley. He was like, people. I don't like people stealing my songs. It's like if we call it ride sharing. How about I show up at your house and take your car?
Right.
And we'll call it ride sharing. I'm like, and I remember Paul and I never agreed on this. I'm like, dude, it is wrong.
Right.
But it's like stealing $10 or $1,000.
Right.
Because the difference between your analogy and the reality of the situation is he steals your song. He did not pay you the 99 cents you'd have ended up with.
Yes.
Or the $3 that somebody else, that Apple. So he screwed you and Apple. But you still got the song. You take his car, he can't go in a car because it's gone. So it's not the same.
Yeah, the song still exists, and you're not denied
both are
access
wrong.
to it.
Both are morally wrong, but one's worse than the other.
Right.
It's like taking $10 is morally wrong, but it's not as bad as taking $1,000. It's just not.
It's probably more like coming in onto someone's wireless.
Well, in that case, it's a zero. Well, yeah, there's zero damages because the thing is, I remember
it's not cool, and you shouldn't do it.
I used to use Napster. I did. As somebody who works in the field that I work in, but I only downloaded stuff that I couldn't buy because it wasn't released. The moment it was released, I would go out and buy it because I felt that I had a moral obligation to do that. Now, my favorite band was actually one of the songs I downloaded was live when someone from the audience yelled, "Do you care about Napster?" And he's like, "Dude, listen to us any way you can." And I'm like, "Awesome." And I downloaded everything because they didn't have any albums out yet. And then they did, and I bought them all. And I've seen them live and met the band, and that was the refreshment. Well, when the refreshments turned into the Peacemakers.
Right.
So I downloaded everything they had on Napster, which is how I discovered that he'd gotten into a new band.
Right.
And then I went and bought all the albums. So my point there is that sometimes it's not really obvious, but pirates don't always hurt you.
Right. Well, and it also depends on, I think part of it also depends on how the band, you just hit on something, how the band feels about it, because my dad's favorite band, the Grateful Dead, used to set up their shows so that the people who were standing closest to the sound booth could get the best bootlegs by holding their tape recorders up, and when Dolby came along, it got even better. But the Grateful Dead
they let you put it into they let you get the mix from the they wanted everyone to do it.
And what they did is people copied those tapes, and the Grateful Dead got more fans.
Right. Now, I'm always amused because the band that really went after, they started suing their own fans, was Metallica. Lars Ulrich had a serious problem with people doing that. What a
stupid thing to do.
Well, but here's the really funny thing. If you watch their DVD, I think it's Monster, I think that's the name of it, I'm not positive. It's the one where the band's doing therapy, and they're sitting around the table talking about the issues that they have. And sitting in the freaking middle of the table where they're discussing it is a Kiss bootleg. Not a legit Kiss DVD, but a freaking bootleg. Here's these assholes, sorry about that, suing their fans, and they bootlegged a Kiss video. And I'm just like, can you be more...
It's just lack of self-reflection. They're not even thinking about it. They're not thinking about it.
It's ridiculous. Go after everyone who's taking their stuff, and they're taking stuff from Kiss.
Well, and the thing is that one of the reasons that people, I don't know, I can't speak for everyone who pirates, but part of the reason people pirate is that when you pirate something, you're passing it around to your friends. You're trying to get people into the stuff that you're into. And you might make 5 or 10 new fans that are going to buy concert tickets and merch and CDs and stuff. And so it's like, you lost, I don't know, back in the day, $20 on a CD.
I find myself really torn with that because personally, it has helped my life. Personally, I have found bands that I've then given money to that I wouldn't have had that not happen. And yet, every time I see somebody selling one of my books, I'm just like, damn. It's one thing when they're giving it away for free. I don't like that either, but I'm never as mad as when they're making money.
And I think it's a little different with books because making new fans of a band is a guaranteed moneymaker. Making new fans of a book doesn't necessarily guarantee any future buyers of that publisher in specific.
Right, it might be the writer, but...
the writer. I mean, the thing is...
Now, most of the people I publish, I keep publishing, so that's some help. I have 15 Zelazny books, and
that's the thing, is that you're also...
40 ebooks of his.
You're known for a very select and specific... I mean, there's
our catalog is wide, but I am known in science
fiction. Right. And you're known in science fiction. You're known for a specific type of science fiction, and I feel like a lot of publishers in science fiction kind of have their niches. And you expand out. You publish other stuff too. So there's layers upon layers. But so if somebody really is into sci-fi, they're probably going to be looking at your imprint going, okay, what else is this guy into?
I want more from of these guys.
So it is a little different than if you were just publishing detective stories or something. I don't know.
Well, no, it'd be the same it's the same genre.
I guess so, yeah.
When they steal my self-help, they're not looking for then everybody does self-help.
Right,
I'm not a big deal, even though I sell a lot of it, and I'm one of the top religious publishers, but again, there's so many of them. I'm not a big deal, and I'm not part of that.
Top religious publishers. You're an atheist.
You're right. That's the amusing part for me. But the thing is that I don't live in that. I don't live and breathe in that. I don't go to whatever gatherings they have. I go to science fiction conventions. I know the other publishers. They know me. Right. I've known George R.R. Martin since his biggest book was Fever Dreams, and people say, well, what's that? I'm like, well, it was a New York Times bestseller. I mean, then let me just say that George was freaking marvelous before he became famous, and he's marvelous after he's famous. And those are the people I really like, are the ones that fame doesn't change. Fame didn't change him. The only thing that fame changed about George, as far as I can tell, he's married to the same woman, he lives in the same house, but boy, does he have a cool mailbox. Because he had, the in the Game of Thrones where they had stuff coming up, castles and whatnot. Well, he had one of those turned into custom made into a mailbox. So he's got one of the Game of Thrones castles. I don't know which one.
I was going to guess that he had a bunch of swords like the Iron Throne.
No. He has one of the castles is his mailbox.
That's cool.
All that's changed, as far as I can tell. That, and it's almost impossible to just hang out with George anymore.
Right, yeah.
I can remember spending an hour hanging out with him when he couldn't leave, and he was done signing in 10 minutes.
Yep.
And so Angela and I just hung out with him so he'd have someone to talk to.
Right.
That wouldn't happen today. Those days are long gone. We'd be a million. We might not even be able to get through, even though we've known him since back in the day.
I told my dad about Game of Thrones and Song of Ice and Fire, and he remembered.
Love the first 4 desperately.
Yeah, and
5th and 6th were okay. 7th and 8th sucked.
Let's not even talk about them. Let's pretend they didn't happen.
I mean, the reality is George gave them a 3-season outline.
Right.
And they shot the outline in half a season.
Right.
For half a season instead of writing up. Because they wanted to go do a Star Trek movie. 3 of them that they had contracts for. But they were also had contracts for a stupid idea of the South winning the Civil War. And that got them canceled. And they lost their deal with...
it could be an interesting premise if you did it right.
There's no way. Unless, of course, there's no way. There's no way. It's just racist as hell.
Well, no, I mean...
the bad guys in the South win.
No. I think it could be an interesting dystopian premise.
It would have to be dystopian.
That's what I'm saying.
But at any rate, they then lost the deal to do 3 Star Trek movies, and so we got this crappy season-ending for Game of Thrones, which could have been freaking brilliant if they'd done it for 3 years, because they were in a hurry to get to something that they actually never got to do because they were morons. But it was really obvious they were morons by listening to them talk at the end of every episode when it was clear they didn't understand what was going on. But since they had George's books and George's dialogue, it didn't matter if they understood. They could just say any inane thing they wanted at the end of the episode, and it worked because George is brilliant. Unfortunately, once they started making decisions, well, I knew that. No, dude, you shouldn't know anything. You're not the writer.
Nope. No, and that's the thing. It's when they did Justified, Elmore Leonard died during I think it was the 5th season, but they had storyboarded the entire show from start to finish while he was alive.
Right.
He wasn't Elmore Leonard wasn't part of just season 1 or 2 or 3. He was part of the entire show, and even though he died during season 5, they had everything mapped out, laid out.
Right.
Season 5 and parts of Season 6 were a little iffy, but they kept the plane from nosediving into the ground and brought it up into a level flight by the end. And it was clear that his direction, even from beyond the grave, was still there, which is really important.
Sorry to have gotten so far off of the wine thing, and I don't think we've got a lot more to say.
Well, I mean, the thing is that if you're familiar with tawny ports or dessert wines,
this is what you would expect.
This is very much it's a little less sweet than you'd expect from a tawny port. So if you're looking for some, look for Semisecco. That means semi-dry in Italian. It's going to be a little less sweet. If it were super sweet, it would probably say semi-dolce or dolce on the label.
But this is good and solid. You should
it's nice. It's really nice. And like we said, if you're looking for something to pair with spicy food, I was telling Warren via text earlier, my dad used to pair heavy red wines like Shiraz with curry, and it's like throwing gas on a fire. If you want to pair something with a spicy curry and cool it down,
won't make it hotter as you drink.
This is the kind of thing to put with it. So,
thank you for joining us for another Warren and Will's Wild Wine Reviews. We will see you next time.
Sláinte.
Cheers.